affordable. These kinds of things would be in the final legislation, in my view. But what needs to be done is, one, elect Republican individuals to the House, two, do the same thing in the Senate, and three, bring change in the White House. So, yeah, it's a multi-year process.
Isn't it very similar, though, to the Massachusetts bill that you signed?
Well, in the measures I just described, there's no similarity. We didn't raise taxes. We don't have the federal government taking over the authority of the state government. We don't cut Medicare. We don't have price and cost control. So in those dimensions, it's all different. But some things are similar. The portability of insurance is a similar feature, and that's something which I think will be in the final legislation. Net, I like what we had in Massachusetts, despite some flaws, but what I see in Obamacare is a very different piece of legislation, and one that followed a very different track. In our case, our bill was carried out on a bipartisan basis. Republicans and Democrats came together to work on the bill, and in the final analysis of 200 legislators, only 2 voted no. So you can tell our 70-page bill pretty different than the 2,000-page Obamacare.
Was there a good faith effort from Republicans to really work with the president here?
Absolutely. There were some Republicans that got together with Democrats, put together bipartisan bill proposals. Senator Bennett got together with Senator Wyden, Republican, Democrat, crafted a bill that had a number of sponsors on both sides of the aisle, but there was no interest on the part of the White House in the Republican plan, in a plan which would have kept health care affordable for Americans, denied the problems of pre-existing conditions, and provided affordability and portability. But that was something which the president chose not to follow.
There were some protesters out here, a gay group, that said they're asking you to please allow the Mormon Church to ease up on the gay community.
I don't tell my church what to do politically. They don't tell me what to do politically. And I certainly respect the right of anybody to express their views, as this group apparently has. And I'm sure they feel that privilege should be applied to others as well.
Thank you. In 2014, most people out here want you to be in the Oval Office. That's when so many of these things would kick in. What would you do if you were president in 2014 in regards to the health care bill?
Well, first of all, you try and work on a bipartisan basis. You'd look for consensus, as we achieved when we worked on this type of issue in Massachusetts. Secondly, you'd like to have a bill that accomplished a number of key things, making sure that insurance is not taken away from people that get sick, making sure that insurance is portable, keeping insurance that's purchased by individuals tax deductible, or if you will, tax advantage, just like it is when corporations buy insurance, but at the same time not raising taxes, not cutting Medicare, and not having the federal government take over the authority and the power of the state government as it relates to a matter of commerce or a matter of health care of this nature.
Is the bill unconstitutional?
I think that's going to be tested in the court. My view is, yeah. My belief is that this bill, taking an incursion into the commerce of various states, violates the Constitution and takes away from the state an authority which is reserved to the states. But the constitutionality question is something which I think will be tested very shortly. My guess is you'll find a lot of states standing up and saying, no, this is a bad idea. There's another difference, by the way, between our bill in Massachusetts and this one, which is this piece of legislation dictates to the states that they have to put a lot more money into Medicaid. And as I recall, California has problems already with its budget. And having the federal government add additional burdens to California, to Massachusetts, my home, or other states would be an enormous mistake.
Do you think this will cost President Obama a second term?
I think this will be added to a list of things that will cost President Obama his second term. The title of the book is reminiscent of the president's first year when he toured the world and apologized for America's faults, real and supposed. I think that was a mistake in his part, and that combined with, I think, foreign policy mistakes, his mistake on his stimulus plan, his mistake on cap and trade, his mistake in card check, his mistake in not including malpractice reform in this massive bill. All of these things combined, I think, would suggest that people are going to want to see a change in 2012. But, as they say, a week is a lifetime in politics, so we'll see what the future holds.
Do you think President Obama is the man to make change stick?
I'm sorry?
Do you think President Obama is the man to make change stick?
I don't think people are happy with the course that President Obama has taken. I mean, you think about what he promised during the campaign. He said we bring in a new spirit of bipartisanship in Washington. and he just passed a bill, pushed a bill through Congress with not one single Republican vote. Not Olympia Snow, not any single Republican. Every single Republican, House and Senate, said no. That's a very big departure from what he had promised. He promised a new type of politics. We're going to reach above and live above the special interests. But instead, he basically paid off the unions and as well tipped his hat to the trial lawyers by not including significant malpractice reform. I think the departures from what he promised are elements which are almost as disturbing as the bill itself.
Our community was recently rocked by the death of two young teenagers. And police believe that both of those teens were killed by a sex offender who was possibly prematurely released from jail. Your thoughts on future legislation to keep sex offenders who have repeat offenders, that is, in jail, and your thoughts on the situation here?
Well, I'm not sufficiently aware of California statutes as they relate to the tracking and monitoring of sex offenders and repeat sex offenders, and so I really couldn't comment on California law. I can tell you that I think I join the sentiment of many people around the country, which is the people who are sex offenders, particularly those who are categorized in my state as called level 3 sex offenders, so aggravated sex offense are individuals that should be tracked, should be kept in jail. We put in place special legislation to allow them to be civilly committed before they were released. We took action in our state, again on a bipartisan basis, to find ways to keep people who were severe sex offenders behind bars or under wraps. And the specifics of that legislation, I can't tell you without giving a good review of it, and that's something which I can provide if you'd like to later. But obviously most folks feel, I think, as you do, that we have been far too lax nationally, state by state, in the tracking and incarcerating people who are sex offenders.
What do you think of the turnout tonight here in La Jolla?
A big crowd in La Jolla tonight. This was just a wonderful welcome. I was in Orange County a couple of days ago, and we had a similar turnout there, which was very encouraging. And this is the first time I've been in a Deseret bookstore. The others have been Barnes & Noble and Borders, and then an independent bookstore in Long Island. I think Long Island had the biggest crowd, about 1,000 people, but this came pretty darn close. I was flipping those books through as fast as I could so that people could get something signed and get home.
What would it take for you not to run? What would it take for you not to run?
I just haven't given thought yet to a possible campaign in the future. This is a year when we're going to have to focus on getting congressmen and senators, governors, state reps, state senators elected that can get America back on track.
Did yesterday's bill guarantee a Republican House majority?
I don't know that there are any guarantees in politics. Some things that you think are absolutely in the bag end up being taken out, and vice versa. But I do think that what happened yesterday on both the substance of the bill and the process that was used to impose it on the nation suggests that the president and his party are going to be under a lot of fire, and I would be in the view that this fall that there will be a change in Washington, and that you'll see Republican leadership take over the House. It may be a bridge too far to take over the Senate. I haven't looked enough at the nose count to know what that looks like, but I think you're going to see over the coming 3-year period a response that's similar to what I gave to Barbara Walters when I was being interviewed on The View. She said, what are 3 things specifically you'd like to change in Washington? I said, that's simple. The House, the Senate, and the President.